With all protocol duly observed, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to this certificate award ceremony for the training program, A Risk-Based Approach to Anti-Money Laundering and Combating the Financing of Terrorism. On behalf of the HRDC, GFM and all our collaborative partners to this program, allow me to humbly thank our chief guests, the honorable ministers, as well as all our esteemed guests for honoring us with your presence today. And now to begin the event's proceedings, ladies and gentlemen, may I invite the Director of the HRDC, Mr. Rajoglu, for the opening address.
On behalf of the Human Resource Development Council and Global Finance Mauritius, I am glad to welcome you all today to this certificate award ceremony for the training program on a risk-based approach to anti-money laundering, combating the financial of terrorism. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a national training project on countering money laundering, terrorist financing, and proliferation financing, which was approved by our Council on 23rd June 2020. I cannot stress enough how essential this training program is for the country, especially given the present situation following the European Union decision to sanction Mauritius for non-compliance with adequate safeguards to be put in place to hinder money laundering and terrorist financing. This has undoubtedly sent a shockwave across the island. Hence, the need to reinforce our financial system and empower professionals operating in the financial services sector to upskill and address deficiencies in respect of anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism. This project englobes 3 training programs being conducted in cohorts. The training of 161 financial services sector operators has already been completed. The second training program is targeted at professionals from designated non-financial business and profession sector, and as of now, a total of 589 professionals have completed the training. The third training program, namely the Master Class for Money Laundering Reporting Officers, approved under the HRDC Sectoral Skills Development Scheme, SSDS, is scheduled to start in September 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, I must highlight that our Council approved an initial batch of 575 beneficiaries, but because we have had such a high demand for this training at a critical moment of the financial landscape in Mauritius, our Council has moved to an extra mileage by approving that the training be extended to 380 additional beneficiaries, namely 339 professionals from the designated non-financial business and 41 financial services sector operators. I think everybody agrees that we at the HRDC, we are committed. We are not indifferent to the impact of the EU's decision jeopardizing the reputation of Mauritius as a trustworthy financial hub. The HRDC has at no moment hesitated to fully fund these dedicated and specialized training programs which emanated from our sectoral committee for the financial services sector, chaired by Mr. Samad Jaman. Even when the need was expressed for the training of additional industry professionals, the HRD Council, without hesitation, approved the disbursement of additional funds over and above the initial amount earmarked for this project. The Master Class for Money Laundering Reporting Officers is an industry association project approved under the HRDC's Sectoral Skills Development Scheme, SSDS, which is a training incentive scheme targeted at industry associations. I would like to seize this opportunity to invite industry association to make the most of the facilities and training incentive being offered under the SSDS at the HRDC. We look forward to receiving your project proposals and wish to assure everybody our continued support of promoting skills development and reshaping the economic landscape of our country. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Honorable Mahim Kumar Siratan, Minister of Financial Services and Good Governance, and the Honorable Sudesh Satkam Kalichon, Minister of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training, for their unflinching support to this training program. It is because of their blessings that we have been able to come so far. I would also like to sincerely thank Global Finance Mauritius for partnering with HRDC on this national program. I know that GFM is making an extra effort year after year to maintain the high standard of quality human resources in the financial sector, in spite of the increasing challenges, and we are optimistic and highly appreciative of these efforts. I must also acknowledge all stakeholders involved in this project, including members of the HRDC Sectoral Committee for the Financial Sector, GFM members, the Financial Services Institute Limited, the Financial Services Commission, the Financial Intelligence Unit, the Mauritius Institute of Professional Accountants, and the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. I see my good friend Madhvi here. A special thanks also goes to Mr. Muhammad Khan, the CEO of the Financial Services Institute, who is a lead trainer for this training project. Congratulations to the batch of 225 participants who just completed their training today and will be awarded the certificate. I'm confident that this training will prove to be very instrumental to you all participants to contribute to the well-being of this sector. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention.
It gives me a great pleasure to be among you today for this AML training conference award ceremony to honor participants to this training program. I personally think that such training is of critical importance for two main reasons. First, if we look at the rapidly changing financial landscape around us and the increasing sophistication of cross-border transactions, we note that these are generating genuine challenges for operators in the financial services sector, and in particular to those institutions which operate in the front line. We also note that the fast integration of financial markets at the global level, coupled with the advent of technology, are allowing billions of dollars to cross borders at the click of a mouse. And unfortunately, this is creating problems because of the unscrupulous behavior of some of the market participants. And in fact, before I came here, I just wanted to look at some statistics to understand the scale of money that is being laundered at the global level on an annual basis. So I referred to an interesting study conducted by McKinsey, and I was astounded by the figures that I saw. During the last 10 years, on an annual basis, no less than between 800 billion and $2 trillion are laundered through the global banking system around the world. And to give you a sense of perspective closer to us, these amounts that we're talking about, 800 to $2 trillion, represent about 100 to 200 times the annualized GDP of Mauritius. So this is what is currently being laundered within the global banking system at the global level. Secondly, I also think that this training is timely and opportune because, as was mentioned before me, the inclusion of Mauritius on the FATF grey list and the EU blacklist, I think, calls for urgent action, not only from the authorities, but also from all the relevant private sector operators in Mauritius to ensure that we resolve all the strategic deficiencies swiftly and convince the FATF and the EU that the time is right to remove Mauritius from the grey and black list in the very near term. So, I also believe that we have taken note of these challenges, and I'm very positively confident that the recent new initiatives taken both by policymakers and regulators, including the adoption of a new legislation to strengthen our current AML CFT framework, I think they are testimony of the national resolve to raise the standards when it comes to combating money laundering. And I think that this AML training, which has required the active collaboration of no less than 5 institutions, GFM, FSC, FIU, FSI, and HRDC, I think has clearly added another leg and another dimension to this national resolve with a view of placing Mauritius at the forefront of the initiative to combat money laundering and terrorist financing. I understand from statistics that have been shared to me by Samad that some 600 to 700 professionals have taken the training today, and it is expected that another 1,000, or in total 1,000 professionals across all subsectors will be trained in the coming weeks. I think this is a considerable achievement indeed, and I would like to thank all those who have been involved in this exercise. I also believe that combating money laundering is a challenge that must also be addressed by society at large, because besides training professionals, I think that awareness-raising campaigns should aim at ensuring that society at large understands the purpose and the scope of AML efforts. We must also, as the sophistication regarding cross-border transactions grows, I believe that leveraging on technology, especially artificial intelligence and big data, will play a very important role in combating money laundering, especially at the global level. Coming back to today's event, it gives me great pleasure, and I would like to join my predecessor to congratulate each and every one of you who has completed this vital training, which, as I mentioned, carries real implications for the future path of our jurisdiction. It is the industry professionals such as yourselves who are the frontliners who will ensure Mauritius's success in containing the risks of money laundering and terrorism financing. I would like to seize this opportunity to bring to your attention that GFM will introduce a masterclass for MLRO and deputy MLROs in due course to further enhance capacity building in the financial services sector. Last but not least, I would like to thank the FSC, first of all, for hosting all of us here today. Thank you, Chairman and Chief Executive, the FSI, the FIU and the HRDC for supporting this initiative. My special thanks goes to Mr. Mohammed Khan for his outstanding work and strong commitment in delivering these training sessions. I've learned that he's delivered these training sessions with the same passion that he uses when he talks about Liverpool Football Club. So I think he must have definitely delivered an extremely interesting training. Thank you, Honourable Ministers, for being present. I think your presence here also bears testimony about the commitment at the highest level of government with regard to ensuring that Mauritius remains and leads in terms of combating money laundering within the country, but also within the region. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So, let me first of all express my deep honor and pleasure for the first time to be in this building addressing 250 participants in the training on risk-based anti-money laundering. If I start my speech by saying that history is more than the path taken by the past, based on the past, we prepare the present and eventually shape the future. It may seem a bit odd if I start like this. But why am I starting like this is that if you people, when you are doing the training, have you ever come across the book, a new regulator for a new millennium? I don't know, those of you following the training, if you have come across this book, a new regulator for a new millennium. It was 2 decades back when the Financial Services Authority was the first to set forth the concept of risk-based anti-money laundering in this book. I don't know if some of you are aware of it. If not, it's good to know it now. Since then, the principle was actively promoted by international organizations such as FATF and others. In February 2012, FATF published the International Standard on Combating Money Laundering, and the financing of terrorism and proliferation, setting a 40 recommendation forward. And this recommendation, which clearly defines the risk-based anti-money laundering principle, ultimately in an era of revolutionary change as well in the international AML arena. So if we simply put it, the risk-based principle requires or entails financial institutions to assess risk associated with illicit activities, such as money laundering and terrorist financing, that they may face them. And how are they prepared to deploy resources corresponding to these risks as a measure or as a response to be able to avoid the risk? Eventually what happens, what we believe is important, is a robust and strong compliance program. A compliance program made up or comprised of onboarding of customers through what you call a customer due diligence process, which is very important, which is an imperative. And then ongoing screening, which is also essential. Risk monitoring, we need to continuously monitor risk so that we are safe. Reporting and also record cleaning. The importance of a robust, what we call KYC, know your customer. You need to know your customer. Involves knowing your customer, their financial activities, as well as the risk profile. At the end, what we see is that you people, you're trained in the field of anti-money laundering. So now your mission is to protect our country, protect our nation against reputational harm. Now you all know what we call the un bonheur ne vient jamais seul. Un bonheur ne vient jamais seul. COVID-19 impact. The COVID-19 impact on AML regime, this normally impacting the government as well as private sectors, not to be able in performing or setting their abilities to implement anti-money laundering obligations due to the confinement and social distancing. So, what are the different measures, mitigation of measures to be taken in accordance with the level of risk, and also the mitigation of risk through implementation of control and measures tailored to the individual risk. So now, you people, you are trained in the field, you have the skill, you have the competence, you are determined to do it. And I know you are going to do it with a bubbling mixture of enthusiasm. And the HRDC, as chairman of the HRDC, we are always present, we are always here to support any training that the country needs normally to the development of its nation. May I, in the same vein, thanks the Minister of Labour for his unflinching support to the HRDC, the Honourable Mr. Siratan also for the joint collaboration and support to this training program. Thank to Global Financial Mauritius for partnering with HRDC on this skill development project, and also members of the HRDC, of the sectoral committee for the financial services sector for identifying these skill needs and all stakeholders involved. Dear trainees, now the ball is in your court. How you play it, which is very important. Playing it with unremitting vigilance will make a safer Mauritius. Thank you very much.
Well, it is a great pleasure for me this afternoon to be here in your midst to address you on the occasion of this certificate award ceremony in recognition of the team effort to upskill and boost a more competent and skilled human capital pool for the financial services sector. Allow me at the very outset to commend the HRDC and also the Global Finance Mauritius on this initiative to address a national issue on skills development for the financial services sector. I wish to sincerely thank my colleague, the Honorable Mahen Kumar Siatan, and his ministry for their support and collaboration in the smooth running of this program. I also wish to congratulate the key business partners and stakeholders of this project, namely the Financial Services Institute, the Financial Services Commission, the Financial Intelligence Unit, the Maurice Institute of Professional Accountants, and Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, who, through their collaboration and support, have made such an important contribution to the success of this training. Ladies and gentlemen, it goes without saying that training, learning, and skills development are considered to be the backbone of human resource development. For enterprises, it is imperative to gain up-to-date skills which are essential requirements to stay competitive in the local and global marketplace, thus promoting good governance. As Minister responsible for the portfolio of human resource development and training, let me assure you that my ministry has spared and will spare no effort to promote skills development, reskilling, and upskilling programs. We are firmly committed to invest all the necessary resources to ensure that Mauritius has a highly skilled and competent labor force, but also to ensure that the right person is at the right place at the right time. In a way, this training is part of the strategy. Needless to say that the financial services sector has several unique characteristics and distinctively faces different challenges than other sectors. Since its inception in the late 20th century, the Mauritian financial services sector has made great strides. In the last 15 years, it has become one of the major pillars of our economy. It has succeeded in gathering high value-added employment and contributed to generating high value employment, government revenues, and foreign exchange earnings. Employment in the financial services sector accounted for around 14,000 people during last year. The sector's contribution in terms of GDP and employment is significant, as in 2018. The sector contributed around 12% towards the country's GDP. Yet, despite these accomplishments, it is very unfortunate to note that following the adoption of new measures, the European Union has identified Mauritius as a jurisdiction with strategic deficiencies in its regime to counter money laundering, terrorist financing, and proliferation financing. If our negotiations with the EU do not succeed, the country will be subject, as from 1st of October this year, to a series of restrictive measures which will have an impact on the financial system and the financial transaction with the EU. This move could not have come at such a worse time. Mauritius now finds itself at a turning point. This is ushering in a new era of coordinated regulations in the financial sector, dramatically changing the requirements for success. Last month, government approved the Anti-Money Laundering and Combating Financing of Terrorism Miscellaneous Provision Act 2020 to strengthen its framework against money laundering and financing of terrorism. In addition to these challenges, the COVID-19 pandemic has undoubtedly had its repercussion on the interconnected financial system, but our government was quick to respond and took a series of proactive measures to soften the blow of this crisis. In fact, the adjustment to the 2020 government budget have been able to partly cushion the negative effects of the coronavirus pandemic and the impact of the reduced economic activities due to the lockdown. In today's highly volatile operating environment, and with the introduction of the new legislation, the need to bring professionals in the financial services sector up to scratch is being felt more than ever before. Indeed, the time of crisis, it is important that both the public and the private sector step up efforts and help each other to boost the financial system and broaden the economy. While it is important to anticipate a better future, the government believes in delivering today. Rightfully so, the government has spared no effort to protect employees and businesses. And moving forward, this must remain a central tenet of the business strategy to ensure business continuity. Government is working with FATF and SAMLAG to strengthen the effectiveness of its anti-money laundering and combating of the financing of terrorism regime to address the issue highlighted in the FATF in February 2020. To this end, my ministry, through HRDC, is playing a key role in training both financial services operators as well as designated financial business and professions on the new requirements. This is to ensure that they have the proper processes and procedures in line with the anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism guidelines. We have targeted to train some 955 participants under the ongoing project, and I'm pleased to note that 700 professionals have already completed the program. I wish to seize this opportunity to congratulate this batch of 225 professionals from the designated non-financial business and profession sector who have just completed their training today. Again, I would like to commend the HRDC and the GFM for this laudable initiative and wish the best to both institutions for continued success with the remaining training programs. Good luck to everyone, and with these, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention.
First, I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me to speak at this event. I'm delighted, I must say, that we're seeing such a distinguished assembly of professionals from the accountancy world, many of whom I've worked before, who I know well. And by sheer coincidence, I must say, since the beginning of this year, I must have addressed accountants and auditors more often than any other professionals. But I'm also very pleased to do that, because I make it a point to respond positively to every invitation where I'm asked to share some thoughts with the accounting fraternity. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been the last speaker, so it's always a daunting task, because I know everyone is, at this time of the day, quite tired, and I'm sure other things to think about, especially those who are probably thinking about what they're going to eat tonight. So I won't be long. I'll try to be as short as possible, and I'm not going to repeat what other speakers have mentioned before me, especially my colleague, the Minister of Labour. But also, I would like, nevertheless, to mention a few things to reflect upon and to take home. It is a fact that money laundering, you can't escape it unless you have some rogue accountants or the like who use their expertise to create intricate web of transactions intended to conceal and obscure illegal activity. And it is accountants and auditors themselves who are required by law to play a leading role in detecting and reporting the wrongdoing. It is often said that accountants are the eyes and the ears at the service of public good. Our august profession is looked upon as protectors of the interest of shareholders, creditors, governments, regulators, and the community at large. Indeed, the gatekeepers of the country's financial system. Why gatekeeper? Because most probably, accountants are believed to be in a unique position to observe transactions and identify suspicious activities that may indicate money laundering, terrorist financing, or other unlawful conduct. Today's full house gives me much comfort that our members have understood the significant role you play in ensuring that our expertise and services are not used to further criminal activities. Your presence bears testimony that you are keen to understand your AML safety obligations, which include identifying suspicious activity and submitting suspicious activity reports. I was heartened to hear from the Financial Services Institute that the AML CFT trainings for accountants being co-organized with ACCA Mauritius and Global Finance Mauritius with part funding from the HRDC were all oversubscribed. I understand also that the co-organizers have been busy exploring for a big hall to accommodate all that great numbers of participants. Your involvement and commitment in the fight against AML CFT brings invaluable support to the work of regulatory and law enforcement agencies. You have an important role in this ecosystem. It is important that you understand the risk and implement proportionate controls. It is important to be very careful in what you advise, structure, and certify. It is important that you submit STRs whenever you have knowledge or suspicion. And ladies and gentlemen, it is ever so important that you remain vigilant at all times. The Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi, when he addressed a distinguished assembly of accountants, has said, and I quote, "Your signature is more powerful than the Prime Minister's," end of quote. Indeed, you should always think, question, justify your valuable signature before signing on the dotted lines. Ladies and gentlemen, the profession will continue to evolve. Over the years, possibly even more, and at a more rapid pace than it ever has. Increased regulation and the associated disclosure and compliance requirements will have the greatest impact for years to come. And of course, discouraging illegal and immoral practices and sticking to ethical conduct will continue to be the basis of the profession's continued relevance and raison d'être. Ladies and gentlemen, it is opportune, I believe, that I take this afternoon's occasion to reassure you that work is progressing to remove Mauritius from the European Commission blacklist and the FATF list well ahead of schedule. A number of measures are all underway as part of the action plan. On the capacity building agenda, the FSI has been actively conducting training back-to-back since end of June 2020 and has reached out to well over 1,000 professionals in a short span of 12 weeks, mostly among designated non-professionals, non-financial businesses and professions. Auditors, accountants, lawyers, notaries, attorneys, jewelers in precious metals and stones, employees of casinos, gaming houses, and real estate agencies are among those who have been sufficiently upskilled. On the same capacity building chapter, I'm also pleased to provide some advance notice of a partnership between Open University and the Financial Services Institute. In a few minutes, we will be presented with a certificate of participation with 16 CPD points, I'm told, for your attendance at this two-day training program. I can hear the smile because that's something which is very much important for us accountants, not really. I'm happy to say that we shall soon introduce a multi-choice assessment as an add-on to this two-day program, which will be moderated by the Open University to enable participants to upgrade the current certificate of participation to a certificate of achievement. Finally, I'm pleased to announce that a memorandum of cooperation has been signed this week among all AML-CFT supervisors of the country to ensure more concerted and coordinated approach on AML-CFT matters. As you're aware, proper coordination and exchange of information among domestic and international authorities remains a critical point for the implementation of an effective AML-CFT regime. Ladies and gentlemen, this year has definitely placed at the forefront a formidable spirit of collaboration which unites our countrymen and institutions in the face of adversity. Be it the COVID-19 pandemic, the unfortunate Wakashu oil spill, or the FATF and EU's listings, we have witnessed an incredible sense of community and resilience. The unfavorable listings have brought together for the AML-CFT training programs well over 1,000 participants across various sectors of the economy. Furthermore, this capacity building undertaking is the realization of a public-private partnership, regrouping the Ministry of Labor's Human Resource Development Council, my own ministry's Financial Services Institute, the Financial Intelligence Unit, as well as Global Finance Mauritius and ACCA Mauritius. I take this opportunity to thank the respective heads of all these institutions and associations for their commitment to the cause and for their spirit of collaboration. In closing, I would like to say that we are assembled with a common goal of reducing the risk to our financial system. It is only through our collaborative efforts that we can create highly effective AML-CFT regimes, and it's only with a strong engagement and by standing together as one that we shall be successful in our resolve of promoting financial integrity for the benefit of all. With these words, I thank you for your attention.